Excited?
Bonsai.
That's crazy.
And then we'll head up into the nursery area.
Aren't it?
Remember how we were just talking about last time we were here with my mom? I was talking about how
So
they
they
should.
just finished the tile roof on the gatehouse, but the tile roof here has been done for several months. They're doing interior work on this now. Each group of craftsmen has come over and done a specialty work. So the first group, that an American engineering and construction firm, laid all the foundations. And then what happened is the first Japanese crew were the timber crew. And so they came and on the foundation mounted vertical pinned wood, and then all the beams were kind of lowered, and it was the tension of the beams and the beams that settled and locked the house together. Now, because of regulations over here in Japan, this would have been built on like a rock foundation, and it all would have been pinned together and designed to be flexible. So in an earthquake, it would shift. One of the concerns here is our requirements, the house has to be tied down tightly. And one of the concerns is if we get a big shaker, are those 500-year-old timbers up on the roof, are they just gonna be too rigid? Are we gonna have some issues there? We'll see when we get a shaker, I guess. But they're doing the interior work now. And again, behind that wall on the other side are the entrances. And again, one side leads you into the main house, which is over here. The other half of the house is where the commerce took place. And there's going to be a wall. There's a formal Japanese garden that goes in there. And in Japan, we mapped every rock, every plant, every bridge, and that garden will be reconstructed back here. Now, one of the exciting things is you're looking at one side of the bonsai nursery here, and this part of the place is real messy, but this is going to be a brand new bonsai work area, and going to have some real beautiful design, and it's going to be placed here so that when the public comes through here, they're going to have an opportunity to do some interface. So we'll probably schedule more continuous work during public hours so that the bonsai work experience will be, you know, more of a public experience now too. So that's kind of exciting. So we've got some big changes, but when we get in the nursery, you'll be amazed at some of the changes, especially if you've been here like a year or two ago. You'll be amazed by how different our nursery is these days. So we'll come up and we'll go around.
This is crazy. It's like they just throw these people back.
Oh. Hey Chris, Ted here for the Bonsai Nursery. I'm going to be opening up for a tour. Thank you.
No, I know where you are. Two or three of them.
So this is our current work area.
Can you see the cork oak?
Grab what you can and run. Yeah. On the course, when you go to see our bonsai, you'll see about 70 bonsai on display. We currently have an inventory over 600 trees.
Wow.
So what happened is, this nursery over the years had gotten in pretty bad shape. The ground cloth was shredded and torn up. Ground squirrels and erosion and stuff had created these hidden pits and valleys. So you'd be wheeling a tree along, the ground cloth would look smooth, and all of a sudden you'd dip because there was a 4-inch hole under it. It got to the point where some of my volunteers I wouldn't even let come in the nursery. So finally we got the chance to revamp this. So what we did is we emptied this whole half of the nursery. We moved it up into that nursery there. We took all the boards off. We ripped up all the cloth. They brought in gravel. They actually trenched in and brought in new water and power because I also had an emergency watering system. So when in summer, you know, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 110 out here. Well, nobody's here. So this year, I'll be able to turn on an app in my iPhone and say, give me 30 seconds of full blast sprinkler power, and everything will cool down, moisten, bring humidity. So I think we're going to have happier trees this year.
Yeah.
We took a fence down between the two nurseries, which made it very awkward. You couldn't get back and forth. But also, the biggest thing is all our benches used to be this high. You'll notice half of our benches we cut down low. And I can't tell you how much that makes it easy to work on trees. We don't have to move them. You can just walk up, trees right there. And so again, big changes up here. When this side of the nursery got done, we moved everything from that side over here, and we did the same thing over there. And so that just got done, this got done. So just this past week, we got all the trees back and out here. Now we still have some of our biggest bonsai sitting in a field over there on pallets. There, you'll see a couple of them that have been brought back, but we've got some huge trees that again, they'll be brought back into this area over time. Yes.
Are these all donations?
Yes, we do not purchase trees for our collection here, so it's all been donated. Yes.
The Shipaka that we did from the exchange, where is that?
Ah,
Can you
that
guess
is.
where that is? Remember? I know you know where everything is.
I think that got stuck back here.
This one right here in the middle with the plaque on it?
Nope. Again, everything kind of got shifted, so. Ah, here it is right here.
Why are you talking about no,
Now, one of the kind of cool things about this is we got this as a bonsai exchange from Japan. It made it okay. at our last GSBF convention, Taiga Urushibata, who is the Prime Minister Award winner in professional bonsai in Japan that year, was the headliner. And so when he came, I offered him this tree to style, and he did. And what was interesting is that was in November. That same year, in December, the governor of that prefecture visited Los Angeles and specifically came up here and wanted to see this tree. And so showed him the tree and then told him that it had been styled by Taiga Urushibata, and his whole entourage went, ooh, ooh. I mean, they recognized that we were paying proper respect. Now this last year, we lost portion of a branch here. This is still pretty weak, but we think we can probably revive this. And maybe in the future, what we might end up doing is adding another graft in here to recover this. So again, we've had some pretty extreme heat the last couple of years, and trees are showing some of the stresses and effects. So just some things we've got, like we've got on this first bench right up here, the remnants of a collection that was given to us. And these are a number of these trees in here are going to be future culls. But we are kind of when we get a gift, we have to hold on to it for 3 years before we can sell it, because we do not do tax evaluations ourselves. It's up to that donor. And so in order to avoid problems with the IRS, if we hold for something 3 years, they're free and clear. So again, there's going to be stuff from there going in future Bonsai-A-Thons. You'll see a lot of junipers, you'll see pines, you'll see Mediterranean climate plants. That's what's happiest here. You'll see a couple of little oddballs here and there too. You'll see a couple benches of Mr. Che's penching back here as well. We do share the nursery space. Most of Mr. Che's trees are out on display though, whereas we have a lot more bonsai for rotation. Again, if you want to look around, if there's questions about any specific trees or anything that we're doing, yell them out. But if you want, just wander a little bit and take a look at things and just enjoy yourself.
Thank you so much, Ted.
This guy? This was a donation. It's a very fine foliage California. And so we've just been working to fill this space out. So yeah, you're seeing the prop under here. See, actually, we don't even need this anymore.
Okay.
So when we first plant things, sometimes they're loose. And so what we'll do is we'll prop and we'll use a tie down as a counterbalance, and it'll lock the tree in place. Once that root mass starts filling in and creates some internal pot pressure, we don't need this. Now, one thing encouraging about this is this had already been stable enough that this wasn't even really doing its job anymore. We do not want to have this touching the pot if we can. So again, yeah, that's solid. So, and you can see just by the lushness of the foliage.
Yeah.
Ooh, that root mass has filled that pot
So
now.
eventually you'll get rid of these guys.
Yes. Yep.
How long do you think it'll take?
We could probably get rid of those even this year sometime. What's more realistic going to happen though is probably at the next repotting, what we'll do is we'll find some deadwood zone down below the soil here. We'll probably drive a screw in and we'll still have a counterbalance with wire, but at that
not
point you
visible.
won't see it.
Yeah. Okay.
And two questions. First about the nail. When you eventually take it out, what do you do with the hole?
You can, with like a little Dremel, you can make the hole so it's just not a round little circle. You can make it look like a little slot. You can make it look like an insect damage or something. So yeah, we do use power tools in our work.
Question over there.
Yes.
With your Dremel tools, do you have special tools? Like when I use on a boxwood, it eats the crud out of the bit.
Yep. There's actually some, like Ninja and Samurai. There are some really good woodworking little bits for Dremel.
Brands?
Yeah, Samurai, Ninja,
Yeah.
Mini Ninja. Yeah, look for those. A lot of those bits are made in Netherlands, but they're high quality, and I mean, you can order them over the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, look for Ninja, Samurai as two brands.
Thank you.
Did you have a second question too?
Sure. Earlier mentioned the branch shouldn't touch the pot. Why is that?
It kind of creates an artificial connection. It physically connects this so the pot somehow becomes more to the tree. The pot is supposed to frame the bonsai. So you don't want actual physical interaction in that way.
Okay. Okay.
Although I will say, Ryan Neal has a famous juniper that has won many awards. That actually, the way the deadwood comes down,
Yeah.
it's meant to kind of interact with the pot. So
I think that's why I'm like, oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
there are rules we can break, but you know, a lot of times it's dictated by the tree. And with the uniqueness of that design, you can kind of break rules because the tree already breaks the rules.
Yeah.
This is pretty traditional. So again, I think this looks better if it's independent that way.
Okay.
Good question. Watering. Who is in charge of watering all, and how do you keep track of, like, you know, the different types of watering needs for all the various trees?
What we do is we use our soil mixes to adjust water retention. So big containers, big particle. The smaller container, the smaller particle. So we consider it more of managing hydrodynamic flow. How much can water be held in the pot? How much do you release? So again, we use particle size. So if you go and look at our Shohin and stuff, it drains, it's sandy, but it's very fine particle. So we water once a day, everything, and that's it.
I see.
And
So everything gets watered once a day,
Yep.
regardless.
Now Ray, who just left, that's his job, is to come and water. And like on his days off, all water. So we look at every plant. So like pines especially, you'll see maybe a chopstick sticking up in some trees. The chopstick is one of the ways we can walk by a plant. We can pull that chopstick up. Oh, that's pretty wet on the bottom. Better skip that one for today. So we'll use little devices like that, just as you know, does this really need it today or does it not? And so, but yeah, both Ray and I mean, we've been doing bonsai long enough that we can generally look at a plant and say, I can skip that one today. I better hit that one.
I see.
We also have a reverse osmosis system back here, the blue tank, and we do have one bench with some azaleas and camellias and things, and so we do have a reverse osmosis bench as well, and that it does help for those species of trees.
What's in the tea bags?
That's our fertilizer. For many years we used Dr. Earth Life, a 555, but we have ground squirrels and squirrels up here, and boy, after a few days you just see the bags scattered all over. So more recently I switched to a Grow Power, and so we put the fertilizer in tea bags because we don't want the integrity of our soil to be compromised over time. So if we put that powder, the fertilizer would get in there, but all the particulate fines would filter down in the soil too. And what happens is all of a sudden one day you come and water, and your water doesn't go anywhere because there's this layer of sludge built up at the top. So by keeping the fertilizer in the tea bag, as we water, all the nutrient is able to leach through, but all the little fines stay in the bag. And you can see how stained they are. Time for a new bag. So that too, it tells us. Now in the courts, I don't like the bags, so we do use a liquid Dr. Earth there. And so when we fertilize here, I'll go and just do a liquid application there. Yes?
You were talking about using different soils to retain the moisture. Does the moss also help? Like if you were using a deciduous with moss?
Or
does
like
that
if
help?
we do, you'll see like if we've done a repot, we'll use like mountain moss, yamagoke, or even a sphagnum just as a temporary covering to keep humidity in. But then like when we put it out on courts, then we'll formally dress it with moss. Other questions?
Do you have a moss growing station?
You know, we collect it around the garden,
Really?
and then we just keep it up on flats or trays up here, and it's always available to us. During the summer, it's a little bit tougher, but you know, we've had some rain, so I might in a week here, this next week before it gets too hot, send some people out with some trays, and we'll harvest a little bit just so we have some. One other thing too, I also, when we apply moss, I use a muck butter. So just like my planting down at Botanic Center, I use this adobe clay mix. It's adobe clay that's sifted and saved the fines. The second part is a Canadian peat where all the coarseness is sifted out, and I save the fines equal parts. Mix that with water, and so those stones in that planting are all set into this muck with cookie dough texture, so it's sticky and stiff and it supports them. But we'll take that same mix, or another thing I'll use is pure worm castings, and you thin it down with a little water so it's like margarine. You take your moss, you wet it, you turn it over, you butter the bottom of it, and now you stick that on your soil. That moss will help that muck will help the moss stick to the coarse soil. But if you ever seen moss grow on the sidewalk, it's growing on micron thick layer of fine dust. Well, this muck, the high acidity of the peat and the high organics of the clay, what they do is moss loves that. So your moss will thrive on even the coarsest bonsai soil. And if you peel it up, your soil is intact. The roots are all right in that moss layer. But our moss, even during summer, where we use the muck butter or the worm castings, our moss stays green. And we're not watering to keep the moss alive. We're watering our trees, but it's just a perfect environment for that.
Do you mix anything with the worm casting?
Nope, just straight. And again, like for buttering moss, we just thin it down so it's like a margarine texture. Well, I find worm castings for an application to glue rocks down, it's not quite stiff enough. You really need an adobe kind of body to that.
Can you use acadama dust for that?
You could. Some people will, yeah, some people use that. That's a lot of dust though.
I know.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm always told to put my trees right straight up in the sun, but you guys have shade cloth. Why is that?
It gets really hot here.
So
And
you
it
can't take it?
yeah, and if you notice, we have some sections of nursery that are open. So like our conifers, our pines and stuff, we will tend to put more out there. But yeah, we get so hot here that we'll get scorch on things. So it, yeah, this cloth isn't all that heavy. Well, when that side of the nursery was up in there, that was too heavy. And if you look on some of the trees, some of the junipers over there, they've all kind of gone poof because it was too dark, and so they kind of got a little leggy. Whereas some of the trees over here are a little tighter because they've always been out. We didn't want to, move things triple time, so we moved stuff out, we moved stuff over, we moved it back, so that one batch got stuck up there for a while.
And she has a question behind you.
Oh, sorry. Oh, thanks.
No.
I'm gonna regret not asking this, but what kind of fertilizer do you use?
Oh,
What
it's a
powder?
Grow Power. It's called Grow
Grow
Power.
Power?
It's a
Okay.
yeah, and it turns out the Huntington buys it in bulk, so instead of ordering, I can just go pick up a bag off
I see.
in the yard when I need it.
Is it a 555?
No, I think it's like a 744 or something like that. But
The
generally,
squirrels don't like it.
pardon?
The squirrels do not like
No,
it.
do you see any bags around anywhere?
No.
No, they leave them alone.
And you don't ever worry that ratio is going to scorch a tree? I mean,
As long as we keep our numbers under 10, they're pretty good.
okay.
Is that Grow Power organic?
Yes.
It is.
Yep. I could pull a bag out if you guys want to look at it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we would.
Okay, I will do that. So okay, if you want to walk around a little bit, let me go pull that out, and I'll get that out of our shed up here.
This is like,
You'll also see nothing always works out as you planned. We have a juniper here that used to be in a pot, and we had a real difficult time keeping it stable. So we decided this year, let's change the angle and let's put it on this stone. Well, after we potted it, we got into some really nasty heat, and this guy really reacted. You can see there's a lot of dry browning. There's a lot of green in here, so we're still just keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that it's stabilized and we're getting the inner buds that will replace this. But yeah, every once in a while, best laid plans, all of a sudden you get hit with a little bit of a surprise, and that hot blast for this guy just caught it. That's the only tree we've had a problem with a repot in probably 10 years here though. Most of our repots have gone flawlessly. We've had a couple of losses from diseases. For example, we had a John Knock olive that again was one of our most famous bonsai. Last year it caught a disease, Xylella. Fastidiosa. Anyway, it's a Xylella. It's what's just destroying all the olives, like in Italy and in Europe, and it's here too. And this tree got it, and this chunk died, this chunk died, and finally, we just had to pitch it to prevent it from getting into our other pieces. So that was very sad.
Ted, will you give this fertilizer or no?
Not until it stabilizes a little more.
Okay.
So let me go get that.
I really
So the
I wish
only
I had a
sell
run of lava rock.
Yes.
When we go to Arizona,
That's it. It's only the trees that will not, that he does not have any intention of keeping in the collection long term that do not belong. That will, no, there's no chance that they're ever gonna go over the bonsai quarry.
¿Vieron los ojines?
First I had to just get them.
It can't be the best thing you've learned.
And now, yeah.
Squishier than that.
It's a weird ornamental shrub that grows in my apartment complex.
We have one,
What do you think about it?
if the tanuki is done well and done right, I think they can be pretty cool.
Sharp
But
spikes on the,
to me, the
yeah,
fatal
sharp
flaw
spike
most
things.
people make is they don't pay attention to the grain of the dead wood. And all of a sudden you cut across grain and it's very clear that that isn't gonna be that. The one we have, like I say, isn't too bad. I think it's over on this other side.
You did put it on display. Would you put tanuki on the plaque? Would you let people know that it is a tanuki?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yep, that is. The main tree died on it. And Che just replaced that this year.
I agree. No, that what he's talking about earlier with the space.
Good memory.
The little arch, that's basically gonna become a public space. And we will work in that space and then we'll,
Oh, where is it?
the public will be able to come and see.
Yeah, it's a
Make this open to come see the volunteer working.
I thought it was a tanuki because there was customers on the side of the trunk with a in that corner, the one that's sticking up, kind of like a choke-on style. I had a feeling it was. I didn't want to insult anyone. You know, just like a whole. Wow, that one's more impressive than the one that was out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.